So we're live. We're live.
Wow.
Facebook, I'm here with Stone Roberts from Refinery29,
Thank you for having me.
global head of video. We're here in the new offices in, what neighborhood is this?
This is West LA.
In West LA.
Or Santa Monica West.
Yeah, so maybe you can just start off by explaining a little bit what about Refinery29
Sure.
and how you work with video.
We at Refinery is about 14 or 15 years old at this point in time. I joined nearly 4 years ago to launch the video initiative. At that point in time, there was 4 or 5 people on the team. It was relatively like a service kind of unit, like where they responded primarily to like sales requests and executed. And fast forward to today, we're like probably 110 people. And we have like fully integrated editorial voice. All in video, yeah.
110 people.
Give or take, depending on
Okay.
current productions,
Yeah.
and like as we scale up and scale down.
Huh.
Majority still in New York, but I came out to Los Angeles about a year ago to kind of replicate what we had established in New York, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Refinery is what did it start as, and how has it kind of evolved in terms of your focus?
Oh, that's a long answer.
Yeah.
We're still owned by the 4 original founders, Philip, Justin, Pierre, and Christine. They're still all at the helm in the day-to-day. And it was a fashion-centric blog kind of before its time.
Yeah.
That was used as like a geo map over southern Manhattan to kind of highlight boutiques and places to shop that otherwise were hard to seek out. And it snowballed, and you know, like it just continued to swell. And by the time I arrived 4 years ago, like there was a major audience. The categories of focus had expanded.
So what are the main
Beauty,
ones?
beauty, health, wellness, travel, food. I think like generally now as we look at it, we're like very like progressive lifestyle, like lifestyle reimagined is kind of how video looks at it. There's definitely like a strong documentary, like I wouldn't say news, but like reporting arm. We have a scripted division within video. And you know, I think the best way to summarize it is like we focus on telling stories about giving voices to the underrepresented, whether that's in front or behind the camera. Like that's our general like most general filter.
And our party is women.
Yes.
So that's has always been the main audience is
Female focused.
female millennial focus.
Yes.
And that remains kind of the audience.
Yeah, I mean it's the core of our DNA, and it's like the North Star for everything we do. But you know, I think it's more like as a you know, like a white man with women's signs all around me. You know, it's a mission-based organization that is about like creating equality and fairness and representation. Like we set out to kind of balance the scales, and that's where women come in. But there's many other demographics that I think fall under the umbrella of who we talk to and who we tell stories about and who we tell stories with.
Yeah, and how does that kind of affect the way that you tell stories? If the majority is women, is it just the same stories you would tell, or is it the way you select the stories, or is it the way the treatment of how you approach the story?
I mean, it's all of the above. I think for me, like I look to hire and like build a team that has like a very diverse like range of like interests and focuses and backgrounds, and I spend most of my time like working with them to help bring their concepts and stories to life. I like to, you know, I look at like the establishment of like an operational architecture in a way that like anyone with a voice that has a story to tell can like enter our machine and find a way to like bring that to life through sight, sound, and motion. And you know, like the general filter remains and the oversight remains, but it's super exciting to like watch people come in and like grow and thrive and like learn the art of story and like craft their voice and become like who they believe they should be.
You mean the people you're hiring to produce the
yeah,
video?
the teams. And
it's a new age with digital.
It's
first.
an extremely new age.
How does that change? How is that different? So take a step back. So
Yeah.
we're live, so I'm here with Stone Roberts. If you guys just checked in, he's the head of video for Refinery29, lifestyle women's focused brand. I'm Alex Regier, co-founder of Story Hunter. We just signed up Refinery, so we're going to be working together in the future. So there's a lot of filmmakers out there and story hunters and production companies around the world. We're in 192 countries, and they're going to want to figure out how they can pitch you stories, how they can work with you, what types of stories you want, what do you look for in like from collaborators or from people that you work for stylistically, and the kind of ideas that you are looking for.
Oh, that's a broad question. I mean, my department represents like a very, very broad spectrum of like platforms, genres, etc. So like everything from Snapchat to Sundance, and like all social platforms in between. We have an originals division which is actively like in market and producing like longer form broadcast initiatives. So to generalize that.
And longer form is how long?
I mean, we have 22s in market. We have 44s in production with Turner, and there's like definite talk and focus on features in the future. So when it comes to like the new digital world, like length to me is something that I don't think the audience really cares about anymore. It's about like giving the story the airtime it deserves and knowing when that's enough and letting that happen. And I think like every one of these platforms is becoming more and more like aware of that and not boxing you in. IGTV's launch is a perfect example of like that short form world just like exploding and creating freedom. But I think we're looking for original ideas. We're looking for unique perspectives. We're looking for like change makers and people that are impacting communities and people's lives in like very positive ways. We have a saying that is, you know, like optimism is everywhere. We don't have like a dark and stormy like cloud around us. We try to approach like every story with not rose-colored glasses. Like we're willing to go to some of the harder places, but like we believe that like humanity has like this inherent positivity to it, and we try to find that in everything we touch.
Yeah, that was actually a question from Instagram, which was how do you, in such a negative world that we live in, how do you find or how do you approach that?
I mean, personally, I feel blessed. Like, I get to work with like amazing creative talent that like pushes my limits and pushes the limits of how we define content like on a daily basis. And like as this industry continues to progress and new things come and old things go and like trends start and stop and platforms evolve, it's like it's exciting to be a part of this game.
Yeah.
And so I think the easy way out is to like get sucked into like those harder holes and those more like negative places. And as storytellers, I feel like we have a responsibility to like enhance the optimism and kind of counterbalance those trends.
So another question from Twitter,
Yes.
from Maria in New York, is what do you see as the future of programming? Is it Prime, Netflix, Instagram, TV, Facebook Watch, TV itself? How do you see that?
I mean, they're all like colliding. And so to be at the forefront of each one, I think is like a really important strategy that we embrace. Like we have a very diversified portfolio. And we spend a lot of time like studying each platform, if you will. So like, is the future Prime? No, but odds are Bezos is probably gonna have a foot in the race for a while, you know? Netflix, of course, like they're at like the front end of premium. But I think with some of the recent acquisitions and mergers that we've seen with like the bigger, more traditional, you know, linear brands and holding companies, like they're aware of like the powers of the Primes and the Netflixes, and they're gonna make a run at it too.
Yeah.
I think the future of programming is like really good content.
And
Wherever you want it, however you want it, like tailored to you and who you are and what you represent. And I think like the ability to have that choice is what makes like what we're doing very exciting.
Yeah.
You don't cater to one person. Like we cater to like habits and types of people and like a wide variety of like lifestyles that allows like your experience with our brand to be yours.
And so you produce a story for each individual platform, or do you produce a great story and then tailor it to each platform? Sometimes they must buy it out entirely. How do you kind of, I mean, because you're sort of a publisher and a production company, so.
A bit, yes. I think like the trend I'm seeing is like we used to be platform first and platform specific in terms of development and production. And then once those projects were complete, those assets would enter programming and post world. Excuse me, there's a bug.
This is real right here.
Live.
There's real life, there's bugs.
Live. Real life bugs. And then the assets would be sweat for the other channels. What has happened, I think, over the last 12 to 18 months is that we're starting to tell stories, and those stories and iterations of those stories are sticking across multiple platforms now. We have an initiative called the IP Lab, which is essentially like the development process from kind of idea to sub-brand and the phases in between. And so as we're experimenting, we're always playing with all these different spots to see what sticks, and using that kind of mentality and that process and everything we do, we found a rhythm where we're capable of now like killing multiple birds with one stone, so to speak, through our stories. And I think that, I don't know, philosophically, I think the audience has kind of caught up with kind of the short form, like inundated, like
news feed
kind of habit that like was so prevalent and new over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're starting to appreciate like more significant stories.
Yeah.
And where they show up is a matter of the platform, but how they experience them is a matter of how they choose to enter and exit.
Yeah. So you have one story, and you find that and so that you look at it, and then you decide it would probably work for this platform, then you adopt it for that platform.
we know when we're initiating production and development, we know we have buckets, and there's platform buckets, but there's also category buckets. There's also genre buckets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when ideas emerge, we're looking through multiple filters, and then once a green light gets triggered, we will say, you know, this will go here on this date. But upon that initial execution, the social halo, the marketing push, there's iterations and like fragments of this story that all like create much more of like a world than an asset.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And you mentioned something stick. How do you measure what's sticking, what's working?
I mean, gut and science. I think, you know, our three North Stars are reach, relevance, and revenue. And, you know, revenue is numerical, and reach in many capacities is numerical. To us, like the North Star when it comes to reach is time spent.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the analytics from all the different platforms are kind of like varied. So time is a constant that like nobody can mess with. And relevance is about, you know, mission-driven work and us like working to, you know, inspire and build a more creative future.
And with the brands, then you basically go back to them. You have 5 more minutes.
Sorry.
Stone's a very busy guy.
Sorry.
The SVP
Live.
of Global Video.
Live with Alex.
So with the brands, you basically show them what's kind of your biggest pitch to them to. So you get money up front. You get like you pitch like an agency would, or a production company would for a TV for the networks.
In regard to like our ad-based like, revenue model, I mean there's a branded infrastructure within video that is execution focused. There is a line from the video development team into the creative services team that does all of the proactive and reactive like responses to all the RFPs we get.
Mm-hmm.
And then those circle back into the production world through the sales unit and into materialization, and then ultimately into the programming pipes.
And on the video side, what is kind of the breakdown between pure editorial publishing and like branded or shows or things that have already been kind of committed to?
Content-wise, like numerically.
Yeah, or the pieces of video.
I'd say give or take, we're probably in production on 10 to 20 branded initiatives at any given time. And we're probably in like some various stage of production on editorial initiatives. I don't know, we probably have 40 to 60 projects happening at any given time.
And those are sort of shorter and more timely, or?
No, I mean, again, like the portfolio is vast. I mean, there's like, we're moving into, you know, we have 44-minute broadcast series in production right now, and we're churning out, you know, X amount of short, I'd say like, I don't know, a Snap Discover edition daily. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not apples to apples. There's range. So it's not all short. It's like a huge spectrum. Some of the projects that are currently in the pipeline have, you know, like let's say 12 to 18 month runways, and others have 12 to 18 minute runways. Mm-hmm. And the spectrum kind
and
of
the same
like
team
flips.
works on both, or have specialties across categories?
I mean, our production team is divided into there's a scripted division, there's a nonfiction documentary division, there's a live division, there's an innovation division focused on kind of like future forward AR, VR, experimental things. There's a branded division, and then there's a social division, which touches Snap, Insta, and Facebook Watch.
You guys producing a lot for these new, like the Snap long form and IG long form. You guys are gonna jump in?
I mean, yeah, that's part of fun. like how deep we get and like how far we go. It's not like all chips are moving into Instagram like long form, but the second these guys turn it on, like we're experimenting and we're in
we turn the cell phone vertical. Yeah. And that actually could kind of segue into the last, I thought, a good question to end off with is from Bradley in London. So what's the trend that's going to happen next that we don't know is going to happen? What do you kind of see as like something that is going to catch on? Like you mentioned, the news feed is sort of becoming a little lost its luster to some extent. Now, what's the kind of thing that you see that the next trend?
I mean, Refinery has a very strong stakeholder in like experiential. Our tentpole event, 29 Rooms, is just opened in San Francisco. It's coming soon in Chicago. We do New York in September and then Los Angeles in December. And like we have the phrase IRL to URL in terms of like the digital and the physical and the fusion of the two. And I think, you know, we're very much leaned into that as like the future of kind of content consumption. I think people are gonna begin to get lonely if they're not already there, and just these isolated worlds. So like bringing them into universes that they can, you know, interact with, and then taking those stories like back home in their pocket is like, I don't know, that to us is the North Star, and that's where we're focused.
And your video department also helps come up with ideas or on that side, or is that a totally separate marketing?
I mean, we're a very like creatively collaborative organization. You know, like the way ideas enter and exit worlds is I don't know. We're not particular about like who does what. I think we're very just focused on, you know, telling amazing stories in a variety of mediums and genres and in a variety of platforms, including the experiential one, and like maintaining the relationship with our audience and carrying it forward to like build new amazing ones. Yeah.
And so you're hiring, or
That's it.
It sounds like I'm just thinking what people out there are thinking. They're like, I want to make an experience.
We're busy. We're busy, and we're always like eyes wide open to new and exciting ideas and creators and people.
And so there's a lot of people on the production side, heads of video, freelancers, filmmakers, anything. Any last words for what Refinery29 and video is all about?
No, I think like we just want to keep telling great stories and inspiring people and being positive and creating change.
All right.
Fair?
Yeah.
I gotta go talk to HR.
Yeah, this is a busy guy.
HR.
Thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll be working together soon. And thanks to everyone for checking us out. We are here in LA from the new Refinery29 offices. All right, thank you.